everyone. Can you hear me in the back? We're going to get started. Now, once people quiet down, maybe you can hear me in the back. Hey, everyone. Oh, this is some packed room. Thank you very much for joining. Yeah. So, we are going to start the second public forum of the Peeekskill Community Congress. My name is Jocelyn. I will be the timekeeper a little bit later on during the program. But I'd like to first ask Keith Berardi to come up and please welcome the crowd. Yeah, here he is. He's here. Okay, thank you.
So thank you everybody for coming tonight.
Can you hear?
Can everybody hear? I can crank this, or I can just yell. Crank it. All right. Good evening, everybody. Is that better for you? Awesome. So I wanted to welcome everybody, and then I also wanted to call out Jason and Jocelyn and have everybody give them a round of applause for organizing this event tonight. And then I wanted one more round of applause for yourselves, for everybody that's in this room, for coming out and being involved in making our community a better place. On behalf of everybody at the brewery, we're proud to say that we are the place for citizens of Peeekskill and beyond to come, gather, and connect since we opened our doors 10 years ago. We like to, and tonight's a little bit different because you guys are going to eat after the fact, but hopefully some of you guys got beers ahead of time. What we like to say is that when people's bellies are full, and with the aid of the world's greatest social lubricant, beer, you can have disagreements, you can discuss ideas, you can discuss projects, and it just all seems just that little bit better when you're in a place like this. So thank you guys for being here tonight, and I look forward to hearing everybody's ideas.
Good evening, everybody. How are you? Wow, this is an awesome room. Thank you so much for coming out and beating the snow that's going to happen later on. So thank you for coming out. My name is Jason Angel, and I've been working with a number of community leaders in Peeekskill over the last 9 months to move the Peeekskill Community Congress forward. And before we start, I just wanted to announce that we are live streaming on Facebook. And for anybody in the audience who wants to hear tonight's broadcast in Spanish, you can call into the number on the back. And instead of me saying it in English, I'm going to introduce Janya, who is a Peeekskill community member, is helping us interpret the event tonight. So Janya can tell anybody who's listening at home or in the audience how to hear tonight's meeting in Spanish. Janya, do you mind?
Hi everybody, thank you for inviting me. It's been my pleasure to be here today. I'm going to be interpreting in Spanish, so whoever has a question, feel free to contact us. I'm going to be answering the phone. Any question, any idea, we are here to listen to you, okay? Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Jania. Es un honor y un placer estar aquí con ustedes. Veo muchas caras conocidas de Peeekskill Community. Es un placer nuevamente acompañarlos a compartir todas las ideas que tenemos y nuevamente me uno a la iniciativa de hacer Peeekskill una mejor ciudad. So, por favor, comuníquense a este número que vemos en pantalla y coloquen el código 407354 y podré traducirles toda la conferencia.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
I really wish I had studied Spanish in school instead of French. The French has not been coming in very useful. But anyway, so the Community Congress, the Peeekskill Community Congress, and the Community Congress that happened in Phillipstown last year. The idea really is it's a 21st century way of doing democracy. And the main idea is that people living in a community should have a way to put forward their best ideas to move the community forward. And that's what you're going to see tonight, is brave neighbors of yours stepping forward with their solution, because it's focused on a solution that will move the community forward. And that's what you're going to see, a way for people to offer their ideas. But then beyond ideas, the main goal is putting all of these proposals that happen at public forums on a ballot. And we're going to send that ballot to every residential address in Peeekskill this spring. And so every community member in Peeekskill can weigh in on their top priorities. Because the goal here is to create a shared agenda. You know, often we spend a lot of time focused on the things we don't agree on. And those are important conversations, but we need mechanisms to figure out the things we do agree on. What are the key priorities that we all share in common, and how do we create momentum to get to work on them and to focus on them? And that is really the goal of the Community Congress. And, you know, who is the Community Congress? It is everybody in this room tonight. All right, the Community Congress is any resident of Peeekskill 13 years or older. Anybody 13 years or older who lives in Peeekskill can propose a priority and can vote. And the reason we set it at 13 is because, as we all know, that is the generation that's going to inherit this community and this world, and we need those sort of innovative ideas to move the community forward. Yeah, give a hand for that in the back. Give a hand for that. And to be honest, it is so awesome that we see some young people in this room tonight. So thank you very much for coming out. The other thing is, anybody is a member of the Community Congress if they engage in this process. So for you who came out and spent your time here tonight to come out, you are a member of the Community Congress. Anybody who proposes a priority, anybody who walks away tonight and does the very hard work of recruiting your friends and neighbors into this process. That's what we're going to ask you all to do, to drag more people into this process for the third and final forum in mid-February, and then to get people to vote, because that is truly the power of this process, to say, this is what we agree on. This is what the majority of people want in this community. All right, and that'll be coming down over the next few months. So we are here to hear some ideas tonight. All right? I know probably we're also here for the free beer or coffee and food. Yes, that also has to be. But we're also here to hear these ideas. All right? And the way the process is going to work is, this is the second public forum of the Community Congress. The first was at the United Methodist Church, and the third will be in mid-February. And after those three forums, all of the proposals that we hear will go on that ballot. All right, and we will get down to that voting period. And so why are we here? I think most people are here because everybody here lives in Peeekskill, and they care about their community. And they want to be a part of something to move their community forward. And I think while there are always disagreements, the one thing is true is that everybody here probably wants the best for their community. All right, and wants to see this process have an impact. And we saw in the first Community Congress in Phillipstown that the process did have an impact because people made their ideas and voices heard. In Phillipstown, we saw 800 people vote in that process, and 450 people volunteered to turn their proposals into a reality, a huge number. They checked a box on the ballot, they gave their cell phone number, their personal email, and they said, I want to know how to turn the priority I voted for into a reality. And it created a wave of volunteerism. And I think we all know that unless there's that sort of wave in a community, things don't get done in a real way. And we need that sort of a wave. And that's about the Community Congress as well. And so in Phillipstown, in terms of impact, in terms of what we hope, but you know, you all will decide the impact in Peeekskill, but some of the top priorities in Phillipstown required local government action. And in Phillipstown, after the Community Congress, local government did 3 of the priorities. They created a coordinator position at the town level to deal with drug prevention and the opioid epidemic. They created a committee to update the master plan, because that was an idea someone put forward. And they became a climate smart community, which was a New York State program. And so it led to a lot of action, because when people get together and they say, this is what we want in common, it creates a lot of momentum. And not everything can get done by local governments.
So the other thing that happened in Phillipstown is that a number of the initiatives were just driven by community groups and community organizations. One of the top priorities was to increase biking and walking lanes. And that group, because of this process, got a huge grant from the National Park Service to do a feasibility study. And so we're here because we want these things to lead to impact. All right, that's it. That's all I'm going to say. And because I think that the platform here tonight is for Peeekskill residents who are going to put some ideas forward. And I want to say one thing. There is one more forum after tonight. So you probably will have ideas of your own as you're sitting out there. You know, this is what I would propose to move Peeekskill forward. Because we're not going to hear all of the issues that Peeekskill faces tonight. I know there's many serious ones. So if you don't hear a priority you care about tonight, you should sign up to propose a priority at the next forum. All right? And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jocelyn, who will talk about how the proposals are going to go. And again, thank you for being here. Let's have a good time tonight. All right?
Okay, just very briefly, quickly, the rules of the game. We have 11 Peeekskill neighbors who are planning to present tonight, and they're going to have 3 minutes. And I will time it very strictly. At the 2-minute mark, presenters, I'll ring the bell once to let you know you have 1 minute left. And at the 3-minute mark, I'm going to come up here and yank you off the stage. So another quick thing is there's no questions during the presentations. Save it for when we're socializing and enjoying the food and beverage. Right? This is about your neighbors getting up, giving their ideas to you all, and then we will have good time for some community building right at the end. So without further ado, I'm going to name the first presenter and name the second one so they know they're on deck, so they recall that. And we're going to go through all 11. So the first presenter tonight is Chappie Banzer, so if you can come on up. And Piers Stromsnakano is on deck. Come on, Chappie. Where's Chappie? Chappie's coming. Okay.
And as Chappie makes his way up, before any presenters present, let's just give them all a round of applause for getting up and presenting in front of this crowd. Before anybody presents.
There's a lot of people in here. So I have to borrow somebody's glasses because I didn't realize how small I wrote this. But all right, I'm speaking into the microphone. Many of you, I don't know how many people have lived here for a long time, but you might remember that we used to have like the world's biggest cookie and the world's biggest meatball sandwich and down at the riverfront. So, as many of you know, we had a cherry blossom festival last year. This past fall, we planted the last 20 of 100 cherry trees at the riverfront. And we will have our second annual cherry blossom festival this year. Rotary's vision in planting the 100 trees along the waterfront was for Peeekskill to develop a unique waterfront element that would enhance local tourism. The Cherry Blossom Festival is one way to make that happen, and to connect local school districts, local businesses, and the arts community in the celebration. What families can do to be involved is take the guided Cherry Blossom Trail Walk and participate in the scavenger hunt, participate in our poster contest, participate in origami making, cherry blossom plant painting, and other crafts, paint a pot or decorate a jar, and buy a plant. Participate in a river's edge cleanup, learn to stand up on a paddleboard, or learn to paddle a kayak. Support our local craft vendors and artists, and have fun and visit other local businesses. What businesses can do to be involved is we are co-marketing with 4 or 5 businesses this year, which some of them are Danes, Dillon's, Homestyle, and Hudson Creamery, and more opportunities are available. Businesses can offer something unique that is cherry blossom related, which will increase tourism. And all the money that the Rotary makes goes back into the community, so it just helps out the community. And I'm done within, 2 minutes? All right.
So making his way up here, and Maureen, you're on deck. Thanks.
Good evening, everyone. Can you make some noise if you like trash? Oh, you gotta listen better than that. Okay. So we live in a great city, and I think one of the reasons we chose to live here is it's a city surrounded by suburbs, and we walk places. And right now, Peeekskill is experiencing a trash problem. If you walk around, it blows in the wind. It's everywhere. So I've studied this. I have a dog. I walk the dog. I think about it all the time. And I have some ideas to improve the trash situation here in Peeekskill. So, solutions. First of all, I think a big part of the trash problem is trash night itself. A lot of people put the trash out not in trash bags. The trashiest night of the week is trash night. We have animals in Peeekskill. They gnaw the trash. They pull the trash out. And it makes me a little sad every time I walk the dog the next day and see that. So I think we could educate other people in the city about how to bag trash, how to do that. We also just simply need more trash cans. They're very spread out. It can be hard to find a trash can. And my main idea would be an event. So a few times a year, we get together and we pick up the trash together. So it could be a Saturday morning. We show up, we adopt blocks, we make a plan, and we pick up trash. I think the most important thing is that we show people we care. And I also think the best way to improve a situation is to start with the simple things. So the trash situation is a very simple aspect of Peeekskill, but I also think it's one of the most solvable problems we have. Thank you.
So can Maureen Winzig please come up? And then Greg G., you're on deck. It's okay. I was just saying who was on deck. Greg, you're next. Here's Maureen.
Thank you. Wow. Hi, everybody. I'm Maureen Winzig. And can you hear me now? How about now? There you go. I'm very concerned about the Paramount Hudson Valley. And my live-work space is directly next to the Paramount. And it's gone through its ups and downs, and my proposal is to have a functioning Paramount Theater. With the Paramount Theater being so very critical to the health of the business and tourism in Peeekskill, I would like to propose a community advisory board that participates in the operation of the Paramount. So that would consist of a 3-part advisory board for the Paramount, in order to have transparency and to avoid crippling shutdowns. I suggest that we have a board of a representative from City Hall who owns the building, a bid representative, which would be someone from the Peeekskill Business Improvement District, and an expert in the field of performing arts theaters, which is, I believe, what's missing. At this time, decisions are made privately between the management of the Paramount and the city of Peeekskill that affect the entire city. These decisions are made behind closed doors and are not presented to the city business owners or the public until afterward. Presently, the Paramount says that they will be open in May 2019, but is actively looking for new management and has let go of their entire staff. Also, there are plans for major renovations to this historic building. Is there oversight for these repairs? Many repairs have been made, but only partially due to a small city budget, and the problems come back again. My thought is, why should major decisions for the Paramount be made without expertise and without the input or awareness of the key stakeholders, which are the businesses here? With the wealth of talent and knowledge base in this city, I see no reason why the citizens should be left with the consequences of poor, uninformed, and secret decisions. I do believe that there is enough skill and talent right here in Peeekskill to come up with a plan to make the Paramount into a highly functioning jewel of a venue that will draw business and tourism and new life to our city. That's it.
So Greg's making his way up here, and Courtney Williams, you're on deck, okay? Thanks.
Can everybody hear me? Sounds different up here. Hello, good evening. My name is Greg. I'm here to talk about a fundamental issue right here in downtown Peekskill. How many of you, show of hands, have used a crosswalk to get to this brewery tonight? False, there is none. There's no crosswalks here. Crosswalks, sidewalk ramps, ADA compliance, street lights, and signs. I'm talking about curb appeal, literally. It's what attracts businesses. Main Street is a dark road. Hudson Avenue is falling apart. Washington Street is a mess. Division Street is a beautiful 2 blocks, and it could be so much more. We're on the cusp of gentrification. The bars along Division Street also know that their demographic is all local individuals. The bars along here on the waterfront see outsiders all the time. But if you ask outsiders what they know and think of here about Peekskill, it's the waterfront. But why is that? With the connection to the train, the views, and the beautiful waterfront park, there's no one here that doubts this area is on the brink of gentrification. This area is about to be developed. I've seen it happen. I'm from Long Island.
Me too.
But to close the gap between downtown and the waterfront property, there's one fundamental thing that needs to happen. We need to build more crosswalks, better sidewalks, ramps, be ADA compliant, streetlights, signs, and maybe even a bike lane for this community. I'm talking about curb appeal, what attracts businesses, literally. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. So Courtney, if you can come on up. Courtney Williams. Great. And then Keith, you're on deck.
Right. You can stand next to Marie. I brought an entourage. You're okay. You're okay. Right here. Okay. All right. Hi, everybody. So our priority is Peeekskill 2030, building a resilient city for a changing world. Kids in first grade this year will graduate from high school in 2030. This kid right here is just one of hundreds of Peeekskill first graders. This year we dealt with flooding, traffic, power outages, all kinds of things. What will we face in 2030? When he's 18 and graduates from high school, what will our city be like? Making Peekskill more resilient is our priority. We propose a city task force made up of employees, residents, youth, community leaders, business owners, and schools to create a roadmap to resiliency. It will identify needs citywide we can tackle to save money, minimize environmental impacts, and prepare for future changes to laws, technology, and weather. Time out. What is resilience, and why do we need to be resilient? Community resilience is the ability to recover from setbacks, adapt well to change, and keep going in the face of adversity so our community is stronger, cleaner, and healthier. So, we've already been talking to friends and neighbors, and you've probably heard some of them already tonight. What are some of the pressing issues here in Peekskill? We've got flooding, sidewalks and traffic, energy investments, trees, litter, power outages. How do we address those? Flooding. Between the water levels rising along the river and the unprecedented rainfall we've had this year, our riverfront park is already designed to withstand flooding. Let's take that same approach elsewhere and with new development in the city. Sidewalks. Everyone wants more and fully accessible sidewalks and crosswalks so they can get around the city without relying on cars. We need stuff like shuttles and bike lanes, taxi stands, and bike sharing that will lessen parking shortages, reduce traffic and pollution. Energy. make sure all city infrastructure investments are ready for future regulations regarding climate change and renewable energy. Trees, we love them, we want more of them, on sidewalks and rooftop gardens and yards everywhere. They lessen heat in the summer, clean the air, and beautify the city. Garbage, it causes pollution of our streams and brooks and the Hudson, then our oceans. It costs money to haul it away or infects our health when they burn it at Wheelabrator. Power outages, we've had lots of those this year. We're relying on antiquated technology. Let's move into the 21st century. Community solar, wind power, microgrids. Peeekskill is already a climate-smart community, but we can do more. Our priority is creating a city task force to make a roadmap to resiliency. I've mentioned only some of the things we can tackle to save money, minimize environmental impacts, and prepare for future changes to laws, technology, and weather. We don't have much time. This guy's already in first grade. 2030 is coming fast. Let's set our city on a path to make it cleaner, healthier, and stronger for today's first graders. Come find us afterwards. We've got handouts, stickers, we're wearing these buttons, and you can help us make this priority a success. Thank you. Good job. Thanks. You too. Bye-bye. Good job, lady.
Okay, that was some crowd. Thank you. So Keith Berardi may eventually make his way up. And then Tim Warren, you're on deck. I don't see you, but make sure Tim heard me. Okay. It's a little tight. They're just making their way back through that narrow path. Some last minute planning, it seems like. I'm going to start timing you soon. Just kidding. All right. Yeah. It's the mic, sorry.
I am presenting, but I am presenting with these guys, so just give me 1 second to get everybody up here.
Come on up.
Come on, Zeke. Come on.
Do it.
All right. So, wait, where's Jocelyn?
I'm right here.
Am I starting?
Starting
now. All right.
Yeah.
Citizens of Peeekskill, I stand before you tonight not just as a business owner with much invested in our great city, but I am also a resident who cares deeply about my family's quality of life and that of my fellow citizens. I am also a proud father of 3 children, 2 of which are students in the Peeekskill City School District. As Peeekskill continues to grow in what many people feel are starts and fits right now, I am confident that everybody, given enough time, will look back at this period as a period of great change, progress, and economic development. But, this is a big but, guys, if we want to look back at this time and measure it as a real success, I feel we must take care of those not yet old enough to advocate for themselves. And with that being said, I'm trying to teach them tonight how to advocate for themselves. I would like to take this opportunity to propose that we, as a community, make youth services, programs, and our facilities the community's top priority. The idea I would like to propose tonight is a wheel. Now, I'm not saying that I'm reinventing the wheel or anything like that. Wait, is this on? This would be a wheel of youth priorities with a hub in the middle that keeps things organized and accountable. As I see it, there are 6 spokes or priorities to this wheel. Sports and fitness, arts and music, after school, college prep, and vocational, and entrepreneurship. The hub, as I mentioned before, is in the middle, and it would centralize fundraising efforts, coordinate with the school district and the city for in-kind services and space, and unify enrollment efforts for programs. That's my 2-minute, right? Okay. In this format, programs that currently exist in the city would receive assistance and be elevated. Where we lack programs, the hub would help create them. As a business owner, I want the kids in our city to grow and develop the skills necessary to not only work in my business, but be patrons as well. As a resident, I want a safe environment and a high quality of life. And as a parent, I want the best opportunity, not just for my kids, but for all the kids. Thank you for your time and consideration this evening.
So Tim is coming up, and Rizwan, you're on deck, okay? Thanks, Tim.
Good evening, thank you. My name's Tim Horton. I'm the captain of the Peeekskill Community Volunteer Ambulance Corps, and I am here tonight to ask for your support. We have been serving the community for over 50 years. In fact, this July will be 55 years that the Ambulance Corps has been in existence. Thank you. In 2018, we answered 2,944 EMS calls. Right? That is 2,944 times we've had the opportunity to help our neighbors, all right, our friends and our family. That is an increase of 4% over last year and 38% since 2014. So as Peeekskill continues to grow, so does the Ambulance Corps need to continue to grow. And in order to do that, we need members. Right? So we have an initiative this year of a recruitment drive, and I'm asking your support for that. We need 10 to 15, about 20% increase in our membership. And as part of that, we realize we need to educate you on our mission. We provide emergency services, EMS, people think about that. But we are a non-for-profit, non-governmental. All right? We are not a city agency. We are not part of the city government. We are standalone ourselves. We are neighbors, helping neighbors, and I need your help. I need you or your friends, or we need people, okay? Because our city's growing. We want to be there. We just need more members, and we'd like your support to help us achieve that goal. Because no one calls 911 when they're having a good day, all right? So we want to be there. We want to answer the call, and we want to continue to help you, our friends, and our neighbors. Thank you very much.
All right, so Rizwan's coming up here, and then Carla Jones, you're on deck.
Good evening. My name is Rizwan Foxhall. I'd like to propose creating an intercultural inclusion committee in Peeekskill. Closer to the mic. Is this better? All right. So decades of research have documented the cause of racial and ethnic segregation. Evidence shows that the remnants of segregation still lingers in the makeup of communities all around the country, and the gap between different ethnic groups remains to be bridged. In the city of Peeekskill, diversity in its many manifestations, race, class, culture, to name a few, is part of what makes our city a dynamic, rich, and interesting place to live and visit. However, when you look at our civic institutions, houses of worship, recreational centers, restaurants, coffee houses, most are segregated. Geographic proximity doesn't automatically overcome the pressures of inequality and prejudice or immediately yield all the potential benefits that diversity has to offer. In communities such as Peeekskill, where there is economic resurgence, newcomers are typically attracted by the rising tide of prosperity. and the diversity and culture of the city adds a layer of allure and fascination. The fact is that often in these places of shifting demographics, what happens instead of integration is economic and political takeover, where those that are already disenfranchised, usually minorities, are relegated to the back of the urban renewal bus. So my question is, how can we capitalize on the diversity of Peeekskill and include the myriad of unique perspectives in shaping our collective future? How can we cultivate a culture of inclusion? So I'm proposing the assembling of an intercultural inclusive committee composed of people of different ethnic, cultural, socioeconomic backgrounds, artists, educators, community leaders, business owners, and the youth that would help form a vision of Peeekskill made more united than before. The team would adopt an intercultural approach that views diversity as a challenge and opportunity, but not as a problem. That sees minority and migrant groups as a resource, not vulnerable groups. That promotes power sharing, where people with diverse backgrounds get involved in policy design. That would identify and encourage social action together. So this group would think thoughtfully about examining the ways in which systemic racism impacts all of us, provides ongoing workshops on topics like race, inclusion, and diversity, promote events initiated by a diverse population, and work with our school districts and local organizations to create opportunities for diverse youth to interact and engage in social action. So in conclusion, to truly celebrate our diversity, we have to engage in meaningful cross-cultural interactions. We have to become more intentional in promoting unity and diversity, get comfortable with being uncomfortable by accepting that achieving true diversity isn't easy. Listen to and understand the challenges of diverse populations living in close proximity to one another, and really work towards creating a culture of inclusivity in our city.
So Carla's coming up, and Jay, you're on deck.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Speaking into the mic. Okay. Hi, everyone. I am Carla Jones, and I'm speaking really louder? Oh, my gosh. Okay. Good evening, Peeekskill Congress and all Peekskillites. My name is Carla Jones, and I'm speaking to you on behalf of myself and many other parents in Peeekskill, the Peeekskill School District. My proposal is in regards to the school buses for Hillcrest and the middle school. Hillcrest Elementary School is located, in my opinion, hopefully you all agree with me, in a dangerous location as far as walking. Based on the less than 1 mile rule, certain students, and one of my sons happened to be one of them, are not allowed a school bus. I'm lucky enough to have a job that allows me to drop him off first, and then I'm able to still get there on time. A lot of parents do not have that ability, and as I'm driving him, I see other children walking in these little dangerous paths. It's near Bear Mountain Parkway. As you already know, it's also near Route 6. You can't expect children 9 and 10 to walk across or by Route 6. It's just ridiculous in my opinion. But anyway, I believe that money should be allocated in the school district budget for all students that attend the school. And secondly, the Peeekskill Middle School, grades 6, 7, and 8, should also have a school bus transportation. My reasoning behind this is simple. The Peeekskill School District is owed roughly $14 million from unmet state school funding. You can research it and we can talk about that later. These funds, if and when given to our district by the state, can be and should be used to transport our young children to school. Most of the towns in Westchester bus their middle school students and even their high school students. I don't see why our district cannot do the same thing for our children. I would like there to be a referendum to formally expand the school bus service to all of Hillcrest students and the middle school, and maybe even one day the high school. I would like to ask all Peeekskill school parents and residents to sign 2 petitions. 1, calling on the Board of Education to issue a referendum to release a bid for bus transportation for all Peeekskill students, and a second to New York State Senator Peter Harcum to call for funding for Peeekskill schools. Thank you for your time and enjoy your evening.
Jay Forbes is coming up, and then Eileen is going to close us out.
Good evening. I'm Jay Forbes, a senior citizen but a new resident of Peeekskill. And I will try to make this very quick. I'm asking your support for as a priority issue, immigration inclusion. I feel that extending support to the Latino community is both a moral imperative as well as a practical common sense action that will benefit the entire town. It will protect law-abiding, undocumented residents, support law enforcement in engendering trust, and encourage residents to shop local businesses and frequent art and entertainment enterprises without fear. My suggestion would have been pre-tested. It is proven to be easily implementable and affordable and would engage all our citizenry in strengthening our image as a welcoming, diverse, and progressive community. To that end, specifically, I am recommending we consider 3 specific initiatives that would accomplish these goals. First, the drafting and approval of a statement of inclusivity that would say, in effect, in recognition of the increased challenges faced by the ethnic and religious minorities in our nation, we condemn any acts of unlawful discrimination, violence, and intimidation that target differences in national origin, race, gender, sex, religion, disability, or political viewpoint. Such acts run counter to the rights and freedoms, upon which our country was founded and to the core values of this town of Peeekskill. Peeekskill is committed to fostering welcoming communities and an equitable, diverse, and inclusive society. And by the way, that statement was not written by me. It was approved, done, and implemented in many towns throughout Westchester. Number 2, the drafting and approval of a statement of best immigration practices that, in summary, reaffirms Peekskill's Board of Trustees policy of protecting the safety of its residents and support of the Peekskill Police Department to not inquire about a person's immigration status unless that status is important to criminal investigation. It would read, as municipal police officers, the department members are not authorized to detain or arrest a person based on immigration status alone, while the department will cooperate with immigration authorities on detainers where there is a criminal warrant. Members are not authorized to stop, question, or arrest an individual based on civil immigration warrant or an immigration detainer. And finally, third, I would petition for Peekskill joining Poughkeepsie, Middletown, Kingston, and New York City as the 5th community in New York State to offer municipal ID cards to undocumented residents. Our town would be joining Los Angeles, San Francisco, New Haven, Connecticut, Oakland, and D.C., as well as some local New Jersey jurisdictions in issuing these cards. All personal data completed during the application process, other than photo, name, and date of birth, would be destroyed to maintain confidentiality. To conclude, the inability to provide proof of identity impacts nearly every aspect of residents' lives, from borrowing library books to registering their children for school. A valid photo ID lets these residents and many other vulnerable community members provide proof of identity or residency necessary for essential services, such as opening bank accounts, entering their children's public school buildings, and establishing identity when interacting with law enforcement. It assists the homeless, youth in the foster system, low-income elderly people, formerly incarcerated individuals, and people with mental illness and disability. It will stimulate shopping, ease signing of leases, and encourage entrepreneurship. Residents without access to bank accounts are targets for crime, often storing savings at home or carrying large amounts of cash. And those not able to produce proof of identity are reluctant to report crimes they suffer or witness. Municipal ID cards will provide community members with documentation of identity, visibility, and message that are valued and have a place in our home, in our town. I urge you to select immigration inclusion as a priority issue.
Thank you. Okay, so we have Eileen coming up to close us out with the final proposal. Jason will say a word or two, and then we will socialize.
Socialize. Hello, everyone. My name is Eileen. I am a resident. Mike. Okay, when I have to hold it. Can I take it off?
Yeah. No, it's taped.
Oh, it's taped. Okay, thank you. I'd like you to close your eyes a moment, and I'd like you to imagine a young woman in a 50-degree weather in a spring robe, barefoot, and she's walking along the sidewalk aimlessly. Someone makes a call, and a police officer shows up, and he opens the door, and he approaches her, and she becomes hysterical. Now, sorry. Go to the mic, okay. Second scenario, there's a young man, a disheveled old man, rummaging through the garbage cans, and he becomes agitated, and he starts throwing them, pushing things around, and starts yelling, and a police officer shows up, and he runs off. What are the options? Well, usually, the police officer will try and attempt to place the person under control, and either the person goes to a medical facility or quite possibly to jail. I propose a different scenario. I propose that Peeekskill create a behavioral response team, otherwise known as a crisis intervention team. This team would consist of medical personnel, spiritual personnel, peers, and of course law enforcement, and quite possibly, or actually most likely, EMS. The idea of this team is to assess at the moment whether or not this individual needs either medical help or just needs a place to go to assess what their difficulty is. I want to read you some interesting facts. For example, Westchester County is 500 square miles. We have one mobile crisis intervention team for that 500 square miles. It takes approximately 46 minutes for that team from Harrison to get to Peeekskill. In that time, an emotionally disturbed individual in crisis will most likely have been taken to a medical facility, and not necessarily one that can accommodate their needs, or to jail. Excuse me. I know that here in Peeekskill, we have the personnel, we have the spiritual personnel, we have the medical personnel, we have the law enforcement, we have the peers who can come together and help create this team in order to help these individuals. And lastly, I'd like to give you some benefits of having a CIT, very briefly. For example, it gives police officers the opportunity to do their job and focus on those that are committing crimes, rather than having to deal with those who have mental difficulties. It also is cost effective because it's less expensive to send someone to a medical facility or to a different facility rather than have them jailed. And then finally, it keeps the law enforcement's focus on crime. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, everybody. I want to say one thing. We all know, this is how this event is different. We all know how easy it is. Anybody who's gotten on social media before, we all know how easy it is to complain, right? We all know how easy it is to be negative. But it takes a lot of courage if you're just a, regular community member to step up and offer a solution. All right, so I just give a hand of applause to everybody who stepped up and did that tonight. So that is the second forum. All right, the third and final forum of the Peeekskill Community Congress. That will be the last opportunity to put proposals on the ballot before the vote this spring. will be on February 9th in partnership with the Peeekskill School District at the Saturday Academy. So I hope everybody comes out to that. And, just to make one point there, that Superintendent David Mauricio and all of the leaders in Peeekskill schools are opening up the Saturday Academy for community engagement. And so they're doing such a fantastic job of inviting the community into the schools. I don't know if you've been to the Saturday Academy, but I went there and there was yoga classes and weightlifting, and it was awesome. And so we're so happy to partner with them, and we hope that at that event some students will bring forth priorities to talk about how to make Peeekskill move forward. So one question before we get into some food and socializing. From what you've seen here tonight, because this is the point, would you please raise your hand if you think you would attend, if you're available, that February 9th Peeekskill Community Congress at the Saturday Academy? Okay, that is awesome. That is a testament. That is awesome. One last question here as we all look at each other and hold each other accountable. This process is about pulling more and more people in to vote and to make their voice heard. That will be the power of the priority. So I'll ask you, would you be willing to reach out to your friends and neighbors, to email them, to call them, to social message them and say, you know what, you should come to the next forum of the Peeekskill Community Congress. If you would, please raise your hand. All right, half the people. It seems like half the people. Okay, that's awesome, because you will make this a success. So just before we end, get to socializing, a couple thanks, all right? A couple thanks to the Peeekskill Brewery for hosting this event, Keith and Kara and Morgan for putting this event on and opening their space to the community. Thanks to those other restaurants that have donated food for the event, which you're going to eat in 20 seconds, I promise. All right, great restaurants like Ramanesque and the Hudson Room and Taco Dive Bar and the Peeekskill Brewery and what's that? Quiet Man Public House, thank you very much. The Coffee Pantry, all those great establishments. Janya for interpreting and translating, and Mark, who came out of nowhere at the last minute and volunteered to live stream, because we were doing it on our shoddy phone. So thank you very much, Mark. And thank you all for coming out. Now talk with each other, share ideas, and come to the next community congress. Thank you. Have a great night.